January 18, 2024. A frustrated customer named Ashley Beauchamp asks a parcel delivery chatbot to write a poem about how terrible the company is. The bot complies. It writes a haiku calling the company useless. It swears at the customer on request. The screenshots reach millions of views before the company can pull the plug. This was not a glitch. It was the model doing exactly what it was trained to do: agree with the user. Reinforcement learning from human feedback rewards agreeable answers. So the larger the model, the more aligned it gets, the more sycophantic it becomes. Helpfulness, unguarded, is dangerous. Safety cannot be probabilistic. It must be architectural. The dominant pattern is the LLM wrapper, a thin application over a foundation model with a system prompt that tells the model to be polite. The system prompt is a suggestion. The user's latest input has more weight. Argumentative framing, asking for a poem instead of a fact, bypasses the shallow safety filters. The model becomes a mirror. Then comes the legal reckoning. February 2024, Moffatt versus Air Canada. The chatbot hallucinated a refund policy that did not exist. The airline argued the bot was a separate legal entity. The British Columbia Tribunal rejected the defense in one line that ended the beta era. The remedy is a compound AI system. The LLM is no longer the brain. It is the voice. 4 layers do the actual work. First, the orchestrator. NVIDIA NeMo Guardrails sits as a proxy between the user and the model. It uses a language called Colang to map every user turn to a canonical intent. Asking for a poem about the company maps to ask_creative writing. The flow refuses the request before the model ever sees it. The LLM cannot be sycophantic about a prompt it never receives. Second, retrieval. A vector database holds the real policies. The orchestrator does not ask the model what the policy is. It retrieves the document and instructs the model to paraphrase it. Third, the immune system. NeMo organizes protection in 3 rails. Input rails block jailbreaks using NeMo Guard jailbreak detect, trained on 17,000 adversarial prompts. Dialogue rails enforce the conversation skeleton. Output rails inspect the model's draft before it reaches the user. The Veriprajna safety classifier is a fine-tuned distilled BERT, 67 million parameters, classifying every draft into 4 labels: safe, profanity, brand negative, competitor mention. The check runs in roughly 30 milliseconds. Fourth, deterministic logic. For verifiable facts, probabilistic generation is unacceptable. A rule engine evaluates the policy. If reason equals bereavement and travel status equals completed, refund eligibility is false. The model never decides. It only translates the verdict into language. This is the architecture the Moffatt ruling now requires. The performance economics are real. NVIDIA reports that orchestrating up to 5 guardrails adds roughly half a second of latency while improving compliance by 50%. For a chat interface, 500 milliseconds is imperceptible. NeMo also supports streaming guardrails. Chunks of generated text are validated as they arrive. If the first word of profanity is detected, the stream is cut and the message is retracted before the user finishes reading. The tiered defense pairs 3 classifiers. Distill BERT, 67 million parameters, runs in about 30 milliseconds for brand-specific rules. Llama Guard 3, 8 billion parameters, fine-tuned on the ML Commons hazard taxonomy, handles general toxicity in 200 to 500 milliseconds. The main model is reserved for nuanced reasoning where its cost is justified. Cost flows the same direction. A lightweight classifier at the input gate rejects malicious or off-topic prompts before they hit the expensive foundation model. NVIDIA published number is a 20% reduction in total inference cost when 20% of incoming traffic is junk. The boardroom math has changed. A wrapper is now a balance sheet liability. A compound system is an audit trail. As enterprises move from chatbots that talk to autonomous agents that act, that issue refunds, transfer funds, dispatch trucks, the gap between architectures becomes the gap between a public relations problem and a solvency problem. An agent that swears is embarrassing. An agent that wires money based on a hallucination is fatal. The conclusion is uncomfortable but clear. In an adversarial environment, an enterprise AI cannot merely be smart. It must be principled. It must have a constitution. We replace wrappers with compound systems, probabilistic policy with deterministic logic, generic filters with fine-tuned secondary models. The full architecture, the case law, and the implementation pipeline are in the brief.